Does what people think of you really matter? I mean, this is the crux of social media. And a lot of arguments I see on Twitter about comics kind of boil down to somebody says they don't like you and you get mad and the feud ensues. What if you just said, I'm never going to meet you. I don't really care, and just walk away? A different kind of show, a perch message. I don't know what I'm saying. It's almost a new year. Hey there, this is Perch. I'm trying something a little different here. Still driving, but it's the holiday time, and everybody drives safest during the holiday time. So I am just holding the phone kind of up, driving with one hand. This is all evidence that will be used against me someday. Yes, Your Honor. And this is where in the video he said that he was driving unsafely. Anyway, it's along a straight road, so I'm safe. Have no fears, everyone. But if you hear a major crash on this, then it'll be both hilarious and also strange at why I went and uploaded that. Anyway, this is about comics, not about comics. I won't belabor the point, but I reflect at times about kind of Twitter and social media and our discussions about comics and how we think about things. And so often things amount to somebody kind of wandering in, dukes up, ready to start a fight, and ready to kind of insult an opinion. And maybe somebody's making a smart-ass opinion. Maybe somebody's saying something sort of sarcastic or sort of salty. Who knows? Who knows what goes into somebody's head when they're posting something? I know what goes into my head, but I don't know what goes into anybody else's head. So if I'm having a irritable, cranky day, which happens all the time, and I go home and I'm like, I think I'll write something sarcastic. And so I post up a picture of some Captain Marvel toy that looks just terrible, like the sculpt of the head looks like it's just awful, like not a fine quality product. And I go, look at this garbage, and I post up the photo. I'm angry, whatever, and I know in my head somewhere that I'm inviting the usual assortment of like Captain Marvel is trash and all that, and then the counter argument of like Captain Marvel is awesome, you're trash, and I try not to do that. I try and, you'll see an arc in my posts of less and less and less stuff that I know is just going to be divisive from get-go. Or I try and heavily caveat things, beforehand to see if I can stave some of that off. But what always amazes me is not the first person who posts something salty or irritable or sarcastic or frustrating. Again, these people, they may have something going on in their lives. They're just trying to let something out, vent a little bit. Who knows? It's the second person. It's the person who follows up with oh yeah, well, you're stupid. You're a turf. You're this, you're that. I mean, the one that kind of gets me right now is the whole J.K. Rowling says something, and kind of the T part of the LGBTQ goes nuts and just is like, you're a turf, you're wrong, bigot, hateful, anti-science. That's the weirdest one, honestly. But just, I hate you, and just really goes after her. And let's say you are trans, you're in that community, and let's say you're really hurt by that. I get that. I get that it affects you personally. What I don't necessarily get is why you go online to start up a good old feud. The banjos start playing and you're ready to just throw some punches. That's the part I don't really get. Like, what's the point of that? I mean, again, I guess you're frustrated, you're letting stuff out. But at what point isn't it not just easier to just go, yeah, I'm not going to have this fight? And there's been people who've come at me, certainly many times. At least once a week, somebody comes in and takes a shot. And I think I present to them a confusing fight. Because like the last person who came in, they're like, oh, so I see you're one of those bigots. And I'm like, no, I'm not, but you're welcome to whatever you think. I'm not going to engage with this any further. Bye. And then they're like, oh, he's not fighting. Okay. Well, I'm going to come in. Wow, that's just what a bigot would say. And then I just don't answer. And then I feel like I can picture them like waiting by the keyboard, like, haha, let's say he's going to respond any minute now. And then I'm going to be like, haha, Nazi. And then like an hour goes by. It's like, and they wander off looking for somebody else to fight, and I don't hear from them again. I mean, that to me, that's a happy ending. I'm just saying it's happy. And comics, I think, to me, and this is a part that with all, when I love comics very much so. I have a deep respect, deep love for comics. And I think there are thousands and hundreds of thousands of comics and different stories and different all the rest. And it's impossible for any single person to love all of them. I love the idea of comics. I don't love all the comics. I thought the America Chavez solo run was terrible. Another guy down the street loves it. That doesn't bother me. There are people who will like things I don't like, and I don't really care. All I ask is that I can not like the things that I don't like without a bunch of judgment. That's all. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. I think that's the funny thing about comics, and that's where I've seen several creators, several pros go, comics are for everyone. I'm like, yes, agreed. So there'll be, we shouldn't have hate in comics. I'm like, okay, sure, I agree. I mean, that kind of a little bit of a weird statement when you're writing stories about the Red Skull, but okay, sure, no hate in comics, fine. And then it's like, yeah, and all these people are wrong. It's like, oh, okay. And see, now you've gone to a weird place. I think it's simple enough to just say, hey, there's some comics out here. Read them, don't read them. Like what you like, don't like what you like. If you come on and you act like a jackass and I get tired of it, then I'll mute you or block you or whatever, and then the world spins on. I don't know. There's still going to be comics I'm going to enjoy. I mean, no matter. Well, it's funny. There's a couple exceptions to what I'm about to say, but generally speaking, I think almost every writer, I should say, has done a story at least somewhere that I've liked. And I think there's been a stinker out there too. I think there's a very small handful of creators, writers, who have done things that I find no flaw. I've liked everything that they've done. I show up to the party every single time. I enjoy it. And there's a couple of writers who I have yet to find that golden nugget, if you will. I think, I mentioned earlier, Gabby Rivera, I haven't found that magical story. But you know what? I kind of believe in my head it will happen someday. There will be a comic I'll like. I feel like I haven't hit it yet. And some of you may be going, oh, yeah, that's too positive. Oh, that's the happy, nice way of looking at things. But I suspect most of you are the same, actually. I think almost everyone is the same. Generally speaking, in life, we like things, we don't like things. And very, very, very rarely is anyone an absolutist. Some psychologists did this study once where they took quotes from, famous people throughout history. And they were giving these quotes to people and asking whether they felt good or bad about it, if they had a positive or a negative reaction to the quote. And the part of the story, the psychological thesis, the study they were running, was that we as people project a lot onto what people say. We bring half the equation to any quote, because what they found is they were putting out quotes, statements by Martin Luther King and by Hitler. And they were finding, almost universally, there were quotes by Hitler that people were like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Not quotes like, let's go do genocide or any of the horrible, sickening stuff, but things like, a strong people are a people built on community. It's like, yeah, I mean, nobody's going to disagree with that. Oh, it was said by Hitler. Okay, well, now that sounds horrifying. And same thing with Martin Luther King. They found stuff that he said that people were like, ooh, no, that sounds awful. And they're like, but that was from Martin Luther King. They're like, oh, wait a minute. And so I guess my point is everybody in the world will say and do things that are, in terms of works they create, that are good and bad. And their actions as a whole. By the way, no part of my discussion here is saying, yeah, Hitler was pretty okay and Martin Luther King kind of a bad guy. No, that's if that's what you're reading into it, then I'm making my point very badly. So that's not my point. My point is that you can cherry pick, you can find something out of anyone that has some good statements, not action statements, or bad. And that's normal. So I went to kind of an extreme there, but in comics, there are good works, there are bad works. Everybody produces a lot of different things. We will find things that we like. This is a point in the video, actually, as I'm talking about this. I'm like, how many people are not gonna be able to let go of that analogy back there, and I'm gonna get massacred for it. Probably quite a few. I'm thinking. Probably will post this anyway. Anyway, I think that as we look at comics, if I can take us back from that kind of extreme cliff for a moment. There's always going to be some things we like. There's always going to be some things we don't like. And if we know that, if we fix that statement in our minds, then maybe we don't have to get as extreme around a comic book, as opposed to, a monster like a Hitler, where, obviously his actions completely eclipsed anything that guy was going to be. But in comics, there's no Hitler. So it's just, they're comics. They're works of fiction. There's stuff for us to enjoy or not, and we can probably find something we like or dislike about just about anything. A lot of people hating Tom King and that Batman run, but I loved Vision, and most people did. There's a lot of people now who are like, yeah, I didn't like Vision. I never liked Vision either, and I don't quite buy a lot of that. I mean, maybe again, it's personal preference for everybody, but Vision was pretty universally loved. And that's just how it goes. There's stuff that's gonna land well with you, and stuff that won't. And if you kind of can give at least yourself and others a break, it helps. And at the same time, maybe in that Twitter argument, that social media, when somebody goes nuts, maybe you can just not respond. I mean, you can just say, you know what, cool, I'm not going to get involved in this right now. See ya. And if the person wants to chirp away, then they can, and you can just not reply. It works. I mean, it's a successful tool to shut things down. It's hard for somebody to rage at nothing. If you give them nothing, then eventually they look. I mean, put it this way: if you really want to win a fight, I guess I'll do game theory here. If you really want to win an argument, and you want to present your person from the other side as looking like a lunatic, maybe you can do that through really clever argument. I think every person believes they're a really awesome arguer. I think they kind of believe that in their heart, but in reality, you're not that good a debater in the world. Yeah, you're not as good as you think you are. So the best way to make the other person look like a lunatic, if you truly want to just quote unquote win, stop talking. Just go, oh, well, thank you very much. We disagree, but I'm going to move along now. Take that, tip your hat. All right. Typically, that makes the people who are really wanting to take the piss out on you crazy. They can't take niceness. They can't take an open hand to their fists. So they will proceed to just implode and look like a jackass. It's almost the perfect move, because the other side takes the bait 99 times out of 100. And it's like, oh, screw you. And then in that moment, you just won. Everyone reading, the rest of the audience, the people who actually, are reading and looking at all this, views you as the adult and the other person as the child. And you win. And good news, you save yourself a bunch of aggravation too. And frankly, a lot of people, in addition to seeing you as more of an adult, they're thankful to you too, because they also are saved a bunch of aggravation of seeing this drawn out battle go on. The one that gets me on Twitter is the people, they retweet an answer, like they retweet their reply, like, I'm going to burn him, retweet, and blah, 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 blah. And they do this, and it just, and then the other person retweets their reply, and then they're just having this war of retweets. I don't know. That to me is like the biggest, like, two people on a stage shouting at each other. That's how it comes across to me. I'm always like, get me away from this. No, thank you. But whatever. Hey, what do you think? Getting out of fights, good? Hopefully good. Bad? Whatever. What do you like to do? Leave me a comment below. Like, subscribe, make fun of my terrible analogies. That's cool. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, Comic Perch, like, subscribe, all that kind of jazz. Thanks for listening.